My stepson tried to kill me for a YouTube prank, and my wife thinks I'm overreacting. Hey Reddit, so I'm Danny, 49, and I'm pretty sure my life is a dumpster fire right now. I always wanted a big family, but marrying Sarah and becoming Ethan's stepdad has been complicated. Let's just say Sarah treats her son like a prince, and I'm the court jester she tolerates. Ethan, he's the puppet master pulling everyone's strings. I've been trying to build a relationship with him for years, but I think I finally realized he doesn't see me as family at all. Seriously, what the hell just happened to my life? It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are taco night, and I was looking forward to it after a brutal day on the construction site. My back was aching, my knees were screaming, and all I wanted to do was sink into the couch and zone out. I walked into the living room, grabbed the remote, and just as I was settling in, bam, the entire bookshelf above the couch collapsed. Books, picture frames, a freakin' ceramic horse Sarah's aunt gave us, all of it came crashing down. And the thing is, it wasn't just heavy, it was weighted. Like someone intentionally put extra weight behind those books. I managed to roll off the couch just as the heaviest part hit where my head had just been. I lay there on the floor, dust and debris everywhere, ears ringing, heart hammering. I was bruised, scraped, and my leg was twisted at a weird angle. I was lucky I wasn't dead, then I saw it. Ethan's phone, propped up on a chair, recording the whole thing. He was filming it. My whole body went numb. I looked up at him and he had this smile on his face. It wasn't shock, it wasn't concern, it was pure, unadulterated glee. He looked like he'd just won the lottery. The nausea hit me then, a wave of sickness so intense I almost threw up. Ethan, I croaked, what the hell did you do? He just shrugged. It was a prank, Dad, chill out. A prank? I could have been killed. Sarah came rushing in, saw the mess, saw me on the floor, and immediately started fussing over Ethan. Ethan, honey, are you okay? Did you get hurt? She barely glanced at me. I finally managed to sit up, my leg throbbing, and said, he tried to kill me, Sarah. And she had the audacity to say, oh, Danny, don't be dramatic. It was just a stupid mistake. A stupid mistake. My mind was racing. This wasn't a prank. This was malicious. He wanted me to get hurt, badly. He wanted this on camera. I looked at the two of them, this woman I loved and this kid I'd tried so hard to connect with, and in that moment I felt completely and utterly alone. It was like a punch to the gut. The betrayal was so deep, so visceral, it felt like my insides were twisting themselves into knots. So, after that whole bookshelf dropping near-death experience, I tried to talk to Sarah. Like really talk. I told her Ethan needed to move out, that this wasn't normal teenage BS. This was attempted murder. Okay, maybe not legally attempted murder, but it sure as hell felt like it. Sarah, he needs to understand the seriousness of this, I said, trying to keep my voice level, even though my leg was screaming and my head was pounding. He can't just stay here like nothing happened. Her response. Oh, Danny, you're overreacting. He's just a kid. He didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me. He put WGHTS behind the books. He set up a camera. He was hoping for a viral video of his stepfather getting crushed. I tried to explain this to her. Sarah, he rigged it. He planned this. This isn't a boys will be boys situation. She just rolled her eyes. Rolled her eyes. He's a teenager, Danny. They do stupid things. Stupid things? Sarah, I could have been paralyzed. I could be dead right now. My voice was starting to rise. I couldn't believe she was dismissing this so easily. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped. He wouldn't do that. Wouldn't he? He just did. I was starting to feel dizzy, the pain meds probably wearing off. I sat down heavily on the kitchen chair, my injured leg throbbing. He needs help, Sarah, serious help. And he can't get that help living here. He needs to face consequences. Consequences? She scoffed. He's grounded. He can't use his phone for a week. Isn't that enough? No, it is not enough. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was screaming into a void. He almost killed me, Sarah, and you're worried about him being grounded. What about me? What about the fact that your son just tried to? I couldn't even finish the sentence. The words caught in my throat. Tried to what, Danny? Make a stupid video. He's sorry, okay, just drop it. Sorry? He hadn't even said he was sorry. He'd been smirking. That's when it hit me. Really hit me. This wasn't a normal family disagreement. This was toxic. This was insane. My own wife was protecting her son who had just tried to seriously injure me, and she was acting like I was the crazy one. I just stared at her, completely speechless. The pain in my leg was nothing compared to the crushing weight in my chest. I felt like I was drowning. I got up slowly and painfully and limped to the bedroom. I needed to get away from her, from him, from this nightmare. As I closed the bedroom door, I heard Sarah mutter, "He's always been so sensitive." Sensitive? Are you kidding me? I sat on the edge of the bed, my head in my hands, and just sobbed. I sobbed for the family I thought I had. I sobbed for the future I thought we were building. I sobbed for the sheer, utter betrayal of it all. This isn't normal, right? Please tell me this isn't normal. A week later, and things have gone from bad to worse. Sarah's been practically living at her sister's place with Ethan. She comes home just to grab clothes and food, barely even acknowledging me. It's like I'm a ghost in my own house. The silence is deafening. When she does talk to me, it's to snipe about something stupid, like how I load the dishwasher wrong or how I didn't fold the towels correctly. Like those are the biggest problems we're facing right now. Seriously. But that's not even the worst part. This morning, I got a call from my mother-in-law. She launched into this whole tirade about how I'm overreacting, how I'm alienating Ethan, how I'm tearing the family apart. Tearing the family apart. He tried to drop a bookshelf on my head. I tried to explain, Mom, he could have killed me. There were weights behind the books. She just scoffed. Oh, don't be such a drama queen, Daniel. It was just a prank gone wrong. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. I'm pretty sure attempted manslaughter isn't covered under boys will be boys. Then she dropped the bomb. Sarah told me you're threatening to press charges against Ethan. Don't you dare, Daniel, you'll ruin his life. Ruin his life? He almost ruined mine. I couldn't even speak, I just hung up. My hands were shaking. My head was spinning. This is insane. They're all ganging up on me. They're twisting the narrative, making me out to be the bad guy. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I can barely sleep. I can barely eat. My leg is still throbbing, a constant reminder of what happened. I'm jumpy, paranoid. I keep looking over my shoulder, expecting another bookshelf to fall on me. I'm starting to realize I need to do something. This can't go on. I need to protect myself. This isn't a family anymore. It's a cult of Ethan, and I'm the sacrificial lamb. I finally broke down and talked to Mark, my oldest friend. He's a therapist, and I usually try to keep our friendship separate from his profession, you know, but I was at my wit's end. I met him for coffee, and I swear I could barely get the words out. I kept stumbling over myself, second-guessing everything. It's about Sarah and Ethan, I started, picking at a loose thread on my jeans. Things have been rough. Rough how? Mark asked gently, his eyes full of concern, and then it all just spilled out. The bookshelf, the weights, the camera, Sarah's denial, her mother's accusations, the whole twisted mess. I even told him about the dishwasher and the towels. It all sounded so ridiculous out loud. When I was finished, Mark just stared at me, his jaw slack. Danny, he said, his voice low, that's not normal, that's not even close to normal. Hearing him say that, someone I trusted, someone outside this crazy family dynamic, it was like a dam broke inside me. I just started crying. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't breathe and your nose runs and you make weird gasping noises. Mark just sat there with me, letting me get it all out. When I finally calmed down a bit, he said something that completely changed my perspective. Danny, he said, Ethan's actions weren't just a prank. That was a deliberate act of violence. He intended to hurt you. He wanted that on camera. He wanted the views, the likes, the attention, and he didn't care what it cost you. Violence. That word, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd been so focused on the prank aspect, on trying to make excuses for Ethan, that I hadn't really allowed myself to see it for what it was, an act of violence. Then he said something even more profound. And Sarah, she's enabling him. She's creating an environment where he feels like he can get away with anything. She's prioritizing his comfort over your safety. Enabling. Another word that resonated deep within me. I'd been so blinded by my love for Sarah, by my desire for this family to work, that I hadn't seen how her behavior was contributing to the problem. She wasn't just protecting her son, she was actively perpetuating this toxic cycle. You need to prioritize your own well-being, Danny, Mark said firmly. Your safety, your mental health. You can't keep sacrificing yourself for a family that doesn't value you. Those words, they were a revelation. I suddenly realized I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I was in a dangerous situation, and I needed to get out. I left that coffee shop feeling different, lighter somehow, like a heavy weight had been lifted off my chest. For the first time since the bookshelf incident, I felt a flicker of hope. I wasn't alone. And I wasn't wrong. This wasn't my fault. I was in the kitchen, making coffee, trying to ignore the gnawing anxiety in my gut. Sarah and Ethan were in the living room, their voices low, but I could still hear snippets of their conversation. I tried not to eavesdrop, but it was impossible. It was like a car crash happening in slow motion. You know you shouldn't look, but you can't tear your eyes away. Then I heard it. the words that ripped through me like shrapnel. Ethan's voice dripping with sarcasm. He didn't even die, so what's the big deal? My blood ran cold. Die? He was talking about me dying, like it was some kind of inconvenience that I hadn't been crushed by the bookshelf. Sarah's voice, soft and placating. Honey, just be more careful next time, you know how sensitive he is. Careful next time, like this was some kind of game they could play again. Sensitive. I was almost killed. Then Ethan again, his voice laced with resentment. I can't believe I'm stuck here with Aunt Carol. This is so boring, it's all his fault. His fault? My fault. He tried to kill me and it's my fault he's being inconvenienced. That was it. The final straw. The earth shifted beneath my feet. Everything changed. The anxiety I'd been carrying solidified into something hard and cold, a ball of pure rage in the pit of my stomach. My hands clenched into fists, my knuckles white. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. It was like a switch flipped inside me. The fear, the self-doubt, the desperate need for their approval, it all vanished. It was replaced by a surge of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Anger. Righteous, burning anger. I stood there for a moment, frozen, trying to process the sheer magnitude of their cruelty. Ethan's complete lack of remorse, Sarah's unwavering defense of him, it was like a punch to the gut. A betrayal so profound, so absolute that it broke something inside me. In that moment I stopped being a victim. I stopped trying to fix them. I stopped caring about their twisted perception of reality. I was done. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to protect myself. I needed to get them out of my life. They were poison, and I needed to cut them out like a cancerous tumor. It wasn't about revenge, it was about survival. It was about taking back control. It was about finally putting myself first. I walked into the living room, my face a mask of calm I didn't feel. They looked up at me, startled, like they hadn't expected me to hear them. Good. Let them be startled. Let them see the change in me. Let them see the steel in my eyes. We need to talk, I said, my voice low and steady. And in that moment I knew my life was about to change forever, and I wasn't afraid, not anymore. All right, Reddit, buckle up, because this is where the real fun begins. After hearing Ethan's charming, he didn't even die comment, I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for next time. I went into full-on strategic mode. This wasn't just about getting them out of my house, it was about protecting myself legally and emotionally. First, I called a lawyer. I needed to know where I stood. Could I legally kick Ethan out? What were my options? The lawyer was a lifesaver. He laid out my rights, explained the potential legal ramifications of Ethan's prank, and advised me to document everything. Documentation is key, people. I started keeping a detailed journal, noting every interaction, every snide comment, every instance of Sarah's enabling behavior. I even started recording conversations on my phone whenever possible. Check your local laws on recording, of course. I know it sounds paranoid, but I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Second, I gathered evidence. I took photos of the damaged bookshelf, the weights Ethan had used, the position of his phone. I printed out copies of relevant text messages. I even saved the video Ethan had taken, though it made my stomach churn every time I looked at it. It was sickening, seeing the anticipation on his face, the utter lack of concern for my well-being. But it was also powerful. It was proof. Third, I changed the locks. I know it sounds extreme. But I needed to feel safe in my own home. I needed to know that Ethan couldn't just waltz in and try to prank me again. This was my house, and I was taking back control. The feeling of turning that key, knowing I was the only one with access, was surprisingly empowering. It was a small act of defiance, a way of saying, this is my territory and you are no longer welcome here. Finally, I talked to Mark. He was more than just a friend, he was my lifeline. He helped me understand that I wasn't overreacting, that my feelings were valid, and that I deserved to be treated with respect. He helped me prepare for the inevitable confrontation with Sarah. He role-played different scenarios with me, helped me practice setting boundaries, and reminded me that I didn't have to justify my actions to anyone. He helped me find my voice. I also reached out to a few other trusted friends. Having a support system was crucial. I needed people who believed me, who validated my experience, who reminded me that I wasn't alone. Emotionally, I prepared myself for the worst. I knew that confronting Sarah could mean the end of our marriage. I knew that she might choose her son over me. And honestly, that thought terrified me. But I also knew that I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep sacrificing my own well-being for a family that didn't value me. I had to choose myself. And that, in itself, was a victory. So there you have it, Reddit, my plan, my battle strategy. I was ready. I was armed with evidence, legal advice, and the unwavering support of my friends. I was prepared to fight for myself. I was prepared to walk away. I was prepared to do whatever it took to protect myself. Bring it on. Okay, Reddit, here's how it all went down. The air in the kitchen was thick with tension, you could cut it with a knife. Sarah stood there, arms crossed, Ethan lurking behind her like a sullen shadow. The kitchen, once the heart of our home, now felt like a battleground. Danny, Sarah started, her voice tight. Ethan needs to come home. He's my son and he belongs here. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of everything Mark had told me. Sarah, I said, keeping my voice calm, he tried to hurt me, seriously hurt me, and he hasn't shown a shred of remorse. He was just messing around, she said dismissively, waving her hand like it was nothing. It was a stupid prank. A prank, I repeated, my voice rising slightly. He put weights behind those books, Sarah. He set up a camera. He wanted to see me get hurt. Ethan shifted behind her, muttering something about overreacting. I ignored him. My focus was on Sarah, she was the key. Sarah, I said, my voice firm, I overheard your conversation with Ethan. I heard him say he didn't even die. I heard you tell him to be more careful next time. I paused, letting the words sink in. Next time? Are you serious? He almost killed me and you're worried about next time. Her eyes widened slightly. I could see the flicker of guilt, the momentary crack in her denial, but it was quickly replaced by anger. You were eavesdropping, she accused, her voice sharp. It doesn't matter how I heard it, I said, holding her gaze. What matters is that it's true. He doesn't care that he almost killed me, and you don't seem to care either. That's not fair, Danny, she said, her voice trembling. You're twisting things. You're making him out to be a monster. A monster, I repeated softly. He almost killed me, Sarah, and he's not sorry, he's just angry that he's being inconvenienced. Those were his words, not mine. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of their conversation. The kitchen fell silent. Ethan's face went white. Sarah stared at the floor, her jaw clenched. The evidence. It was irrefutable. Then came the ultimatum. Either Ethan moves back in, Sarah said, her voice cold, or I'm leaving with him. That was the turning point, the moment of truth. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw not the woman I loved but a stranger. A woman so blinded by her loyalty to her son that she was willing to abandon her husband, the man who almost died because of that son. And in that moment, I knew what I had to do. Then leave, I said, my voice quiet but steady. I won't live in fear in my own home. I won't be a punching bag for your son's twisted pranks. I won't be a victim anymore. The shock on their faces was almost comical. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Ethan just stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. They hadn't expected this. They hadn't expected me to stand up to them. They were so used to me being the eager-to-please stepdad, the one who always backed down, that they didn't know how to handle this new version of me. You're kicking us out, Sarah stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I'm not kicking you out, I said, my voice calm and steady. You're choosing to leave. You're choosing your son over me, and that's fine, it's your choice, but I won't be a part of it. I walked over to the door and opened it. The locks have been changed, I said, my voice firm. You can collect your things tomorrow, I'll leave the key with Mark. And with that I walked away. I walked away from the woman I thought I loved. I walked away from the family I thought I had. I walked away from the life I thought I was building. And it felt good. It felt liberating. It felt like I was finally free. So there you have it, Reddit, the final chapter. It was messy. It was painful, but it was necessary. I stood my ground, I spoke my truth, and I walked away. And you know what? I'm okay, more than okay. I'm finally starting to heal. I'm finally starting to breathe again. I'm finally starting to live again. It's been 6 months since Sarah and Ethan walked out that door. The initial fallout was brutal. Sarah's family predictably sided with her. I got a few nasty phone calls, a couple of guilt-tripping texts, but I held firm. I blocked their numbers. I needed space. I needed to heal. I focused on myself, on rebuilding my life brick by painful brick. The divorce was surprisingly amicable, considering everything. I think Sarah realized on some level that she'd made a mistake, but she still couldn't admit it, not fully. She maintained that I had overreacted, that I had torn the family apart. But her words didn't have the same sting anymore. I knew the truth. I knew I had done what I needed to do to protect myself. I didn't fight her on anything. I let her have the furniture, the car, even the damn ceramic horse from her aunt. I just wanted it over. I wanted to move on. I moved out of that house, the house that held so many painful memories. I found a small apartment closer to the city, a fresh start. It was quiet, peaceful, mine. The silence, once deafening, was now a comfort. I could finally breathe again. Therapy has been a lifesaver. Talking to someone who understands, someone who validates my experience, has made all the difference. I'm learning to process the trauma, to let go of the anger, the guilt, the self-doubt. I'm learning to forgive myself. I'm learning to love myself again. My friends, especially Mark, have been incredible. They rallied around me, offering support, encouragement, and a healthy dose of distraction. We go hiking, we go to concerts, we just hang out and talk. They remind me that I'm not alone, that I'm loved, that I'm worthy. True friendship is priceless. I've also reconnected with some old hobbies. I've started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. It's surprisingly therapeutic. I'm also taking a woodworking class. It feels good to create something tangible, something beautiful, something that isn't tainted by the toxicity of my past. It hasn't been easy. There are still days when the grief hits me like a tidal wave. Days when I miss Sarah, when I miss the idea of the family we never really had. But those days are getting fewer and further between. I'm learning to live with the loss, to accept that some things are just beyond repair. I'm not responsible for their choices. I'm only responsible for my own. I haven't spoken to Ethan since that day in the kitchen. I don't know where he is, what he's doing. Part of me hopes he's getting help, that he's facing the consequences of his actions. But honestly, I don't have the energy to care anymore. I've let go, I've moved on. This whole experience has changed me. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm stronger, more resilient, more assertive. I've learned to set boundaries, to prioritize my own well-being, to walk away from toxic relationships. I've learned that sometimes, self-preservation is the greatest act of love. I've learned that family isn't always blood. So Reddit, that's my story. It's a long one, I know, but I needed to share it. I needed to get it off my chest. I needed to connect with others who might have gone through something similar. Have you ever had to walk away from a toxic family member? How did you cope? What advice would you give to someone struggling with a similar situation? Let me know. Your support means more than you know.